Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Yes.
It is Sex Week, and we are doing part 2 of our Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed part 1, y'all. But we got even more. So we are here with, if this is your first time tuning in, this is Miss Brittany Broaddus Smith, the Brittany Broaddus Smith. And she's going to lead us in this discussion, more Q&A. So we're going to give it to you.
Yes, so excited for part 2. Part 1, we really got into some stuff. We got into it.
Yeah, we did.
And we think we finally stumbled upon the thing that made even Pastor Q uncomfortable. Did you see? He got a little. Y'all make sure you go back to part 1 and watch them. I didn't think it was possible to make him blush, but I think it happened.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, so we are back again for Daring Discussions. Do we do that in holiness? Answering all of your questions about facts, myths, truths, how-tos, and should-Is about sex, and sexuality as a Christian. And so this one is a little more serious question that we're going to start with. It says, I've experienced sexual trauma, and my spouse did something in the bedroom that triggered me. How do I talk to them about it, and how do I get over that feeling? And so the first I wanted to start is, number one, admiring your bravery to even ask the question, because many of us we just deal with things because it's normal. We don't know that it's even something that we have to ask or can get help for. So that's the first thing. Secondly, understand that triggers are normal. And sometimes we feel guilty, like it was so long ago, or I shouldn't be still dealing with this. But triggers are normal, and it is okay to not like that particular thing. So whatever that action was, I would encourage you to be specific, like to your partner and say, hey, when you did X, it made me feel Y, and I would like for us not to do that. And can you be mindful to not do that again? If you watch part 1, we talked about the introduce, increase, interrupt activity, and that would be a great thing to, if you don't feel comfortable saying it directly for whatever reason, that having that as that experience or that action that you interrupt is really good. Another activity is just a flat out, if y'all are one of those couples that we just like to get straight to it, we don't like to beat around the bush, what are some things that you would like to change about our sex life? Ask that question, give them an opportunity to offer, and then that will be your segue into offering what it is for you. The question about how do you get over those feelings, really, trauma is a thing that really sits with all of us, and I cannot recommend therapy enough. I always, of course, recommend prayer, for sure. We start with the Lord. But sometimes the Lord gives us opportunities to have access to clinicians that really are, particularly because trauma trained clinicians is a specialty. Being able to, in trauma recovery, sexual abuse recovery, find someone in your area, or if this is the area where this is their specialty, to really help you navigate your triggers. First, identify them, communicate them to your partner, and really deal with the feelings that you have of being sexually assaulted. You are a survivor, but just because you are doesn't mean you won't have those moments where you step back. So I encourage you to speak with your spouse directly, if not using one of those activities that can be an easy way to navigate that discussion, but then also speak with a counselor or a clinician that can help you process the trauma that's lingering.
I agree. And that'll help out with the intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll help out with the intimacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's do another. Did you know?
Oh, my goodness.
Let's do it. Let's get it deep. Let's get it.
Did you know that in America, the average size of a fully erect penis is 5.1 to 5.5 inches?
Didn't know that.
Fully erect. That means ready to go. You didn't know that?
That's average?
That's average. That means most people, which means all of these rappers walking around talking about 9 this and 9 that, it's really likely that they aren't telling the truth, right? And so the conversation that is oftentimes connected to this discussion.
I try to keep a straight face.
All right.
Okay. The question that's often connected to this discussion is, does size matter?
Right.
And sometimes that question gets you
need to drink water.
I'm going to see where this goes, because I know that this is a difficult topic for some people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And some people struggle with it.
Absolutely.
And so I don't want to I don't want to make light of a situation.
Absolutely.
And so I'm listening.
Yeah. No, but that's really, because that's what actually was going to
That's
say. A lot of times this conversation is made light of in social media or movies or TVs because, and again, this is one of those things that is again connected to toxic masculinity.
When you keep saying it, you keep.
I'm sorry. No, I mean, like, I'm just.
You do.
That's not in size, but in specificity. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, oh my God.
Oh, go ahead. Do you?
Commonly, it is thought that larger means better,
Right.
but that is not true.
Yeah.
Size, however, does matter by way of body compatibility, right? So as we said, 5.1 to 5.5 inches, and we learned in part 1 about the vaginal canal being about 2 to 5 inches in length and being able to double in size. And so depending on your personal interest or particular position that you enjoy, size in that way would matter because someone is, as we talked about, the one who submitted the question about pain and things like that. That's when size becomes the matter, as in the functionality and creating the logistics of the sexual experience more than the pleasure. We have that, it's not the size of the boat, but the motion in the ocean and bigger. Like we all have all of those like colloquialisms for the size discussion, but it really is bodies come in unique shapes and sizes and how they connect together matters. And you just work to find what works for you and your house and your partner and what works well. And then again, speaking up, and we learned about the different types of orgasms, all of that connects to size in a way. It's not a matter of better or worse, but just different.
And I think that can also be said from the male perspective as far as
Come on.
Yeah. It's a little too loose.
Oh,
which is a fallacy.
Yeah. Or the so the difference is, I've heard where men explain that there's differences. Meaning that there are differences between different partners that they've had as it pertains to how it felt versus how one feels.
Yeah.
So that could be a challenge as well on the male side if he's used to a certain thing and then he has a new partner and that's not the case.
Right.
And so there has to be something that can come together as well to say, how do we make this experience better, or what aids do we bring in to make it better? And how do we enhance this portion of our relationship?
Right.
So that is.
Yeah. So honestly, and this folks may not like this, what it comes down to is mindset.
Yes.
It's a lot of our thoughts about it is rooted erroneously, and there's for a long time, does this mean things folks that say, loose or no walls or, and like women are very stressed about after I have a baby, it doesn't feel the same and all that. And so the vagina is a muscle.
Yeah.
And the muscle, just like your arms don't get worn out from bringing groceries in and out or lifting weights, the vagina in the same way doesn't get worn out. Now your pelvic floor can get some elasticity and things like that just from, weight changes or babies and things like that. That's a reality, but the vagina itself isn't more or less loose. And in actuality, this myth of the tight vagina is really a function of pelvic floor dysfunction.
Yeah. And so the idea then is would there be something that could happen that would
how do you strengthen that?
Can you strengthen that muscle?
So you want it to be healthy and not strengthened. No. That's what I'm saying. Those strengths are the strength is in your ability to contract as much as it is to relax.
Okay, that's the
right.
Part, yes.
And so a lot of people we talk about Kegels, like that's one of the things that's often pushed on women is the Kegel to strengthen.
Is that like a actual thing? Is it?
Oh, a Kegel, a Kegel exercise is it's the expanding and contracting of the Kegel muscle, which is inside your vagina. You squeeze it. You're supposed to hold it for a little bit and then let it down. But again, many of us we guard. It's a strong possibility that just us sitting here, we're contracted and guarded just in life, and so we don't. The unhealthy part of it that we don't have the ability to let it down. Yeah. As much. So if if your arm is always like this, it's the same. You have to be, that's what the health of the muscle is both and functioning. Okay. And so that tightness is a pelvic floor who's not learned or not able or capable of relaxing. So being able to squeeze in and feel the sensation of the squeeze, yeah, we understand that that's a good thing, but you also need to be able to let it down as well. You don't want it to always be tight in that, in that way. And the difference is also recognized, as we said, vaginas can double in size with arousal. Yeah. If it feels different, maybe if it's particularly between partners, maybe this partner was more aroused than the other one. Maybe this one was longer just in their baseline, than the other. Based on this is why size matters. This particular partner matched better with the size of the penis at the time or whatever. And so it really is not I can do this to make it different, make it better. It really is a mind recognizing that this is just science and biology. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing, wrong with the person or the body not doing anything wrong. It's just different. And we have to grow comfortable with different and put away that mentality of bigger is better, tighter is better, wetter is better, all of those things.
Okay. I was about to ask something else, but I'm not gonna do it.
Well, we here now. Go right.
No, never mind.
Well, hey, Texas.
You just said wetter is better. That's not true.
It's preference.
Really?
It's preference, and also it's more times is the issue.
Wouldn't prefer not.
Some people don't.
And some people want all that friction.
No. Not to the. It's not on the spectrum of.
Your earring about to fall.
Of it's I want it wet or dry, because dry is problematic. That friction is painful and things like that. Okay. But we've again idealized or idolized the WAP, right? And so and connected again to worth, that if it doesn't happen naturally, it's a problem, like without even addition. And then we don't recognize that lube is your friend.
Right.
If you enjoy it, if that friction makes it better, use lube, and then use lube again. And if you think you've gotten enough, use a little bit, bit more. But then again, when we have same thing, this is again why size matters. If there is a whole lot of lubrication and a partner is not, the vagina is a little longer or the penis is a little smaller, that slip can also make for it slipping out. Okay. And that may not be enjoyable for. Okay. Yeah. So it really it's like the mindset around wet and tight and all of the things that these supposed to be. Now moisturized or wet is important to keep away from friction and tearing and pain and things of that nature, but it doesn't. You're not a better lover because you get wetter.
Okay.
This we just learning. Hope y'all learning too.
So, Pastor Q, you have some questions.
Yes. Okay, so this is this question says, why is it difficult to put your wife first? Why is it difficult to put your wife first? My first inclination would be that sounds like an intimacy problem. That sounds like somewhere we didn't practice the biblical formula of leave and cleave. That we're not making one another priority, or I don't feel like I'm being made a priority. And so I don't, because putting that first, that's different things for different people. Because there have been things I thought I was doing that honored her and made her happy, and realized that she didn't care about those things. And so it's just being mindful of what is it that matters to her, like putting gas in the car, putting a glass of water on the nightstand that she's not going to drink. That I'm going to drink in the morning or the middle of the night when I wake up because it's still there. Those types of things matter. And so I don't know there's not a frame of reference because there's so many different ways and categories and areas. And since we're talking, and it says sex week, I'm thinking sexually, as far as sexual satisfaction, maybe we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. And so I think all of us come in, we've been discussing with a certain amount of ignorance. And so if the communication's not there, we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. And so we've talked to people over the years who have not experienced certain things and certain things had not been experienced, but they didn't know. Yeah. And so one of the things about this is to put us into a certain knowledge and understanding, and just from the different conversations that it has created in a non-accusatory tone. Yeah. And so since I've been hearing that from a lot of couples, hopefully who have submitted this question, the spouse, the husband and wife are discussing, ways to prioritize one another. And if it's in the bedroom, then figure out what you need to do there. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean,
it is.
You got games, you got toys, you got lingerie, you got massage tables, you have so many different things that you can do. Role play.
Yeah.
So many different things that you can do to discover and learn each other.
Yeah.
That somebody somewhere needs to take some initiative and pick up some cards or something and just get to know one another on a deeper level. Just conversation can make things so much better. So,
right.
And you know what is one of the things, I had two things to say, but to what you just said, and this is, I know you're going to be like, what? One of the best ways to add that spark or reinvigorate whatever or create something new is to take sex off the table.
Agree.
For a bit of time.
Yeah.
Like, and lean into sensuality. We, in the same way we've been talking all week about how there's so much more to pleasure than sex.
Yeah.
In the same way, there's so much more to sexual expression than penetration and oral sex. There's a process called sensate focus, where it's like this tiered approach to re-engagement, where you start where you all are just looking intently and deeply into each other's eyes. No real touching, y'all close but not touching, just looking. Just for that time you are looking and breathing deeply and just looking inside each other's eyes. These two are silly. Looking into each other's eyes and being still in a moment. You can set the mood, light a candle, turn the soft music, and just be there with each other. Then you elevate from there to now we're just touching skin, no genitals, but just touching the body parts clothed. And you can plan this out however you feel, touching the body parts clothed. And then from there, the next day we're touching body parts without clothes, but no genital touching, and around it, but getting right up close to it, but not touching it, having a conversation while you're again still looking into each other's eyes and finding and invigorating the senses, things, the way the room smells, the sounds that all of those things. And it's that excitement that you feel. Then you move from there to touching genitals.
And all this supposed to happen on separate days?
Yes.
Wouldn't make it. Tell her right now.
And so, but here's the way the thought of it, and a lot of times
I would never would talk about we're gonna do this for 4 days and progress each day. Nah.
Now that doesn't work for you, but it may work for someone else.
It's a love revival.
Yeah, love revival.
Slowly but surely. With a headliner, we got the headliner is at the end of the week. We gotta lead. These are the openers that lead up to it. And sometimes, like when we take sex off the table and really begin to talk again, to speak again, to see again, and then it's like. And it's like when you remove, and they say you remove one of your senses and the other ones are heightened. Right. It works in that same way. You begin to focus on one another and find the beauty in sensuality, which is activating all of your senses. So that, because sex is the easy part, sex is the low hanging fruit, but it's that particularly for spaces like this where when it's difficult to put your wife first, there's, like you said, there's likely an issue with intimacy. There's likely an issue with selfishness. There's likely somewhere where you felt like you weren't first. So now this could be retaliatory. It's a lot of things that could be working there. And if it is particularly about sex, you shouldn't be putting your wife first. If you're talking about sex, pleasure should be equitable. We should be doing things where we both are enjoying what's happening, and we're again fostering that that culture of sexual excellence, where everybody feels like they're getting what they need, whatever that may look like. Because that's equity is not the same. Is I'm getting what I need from this space, and so that. People had that mindset, oh, I'm a pleaser. I just don't worry about me. As long as you get yours, I'm okay. That's not true. That's not true. And it's not healthy. Yeah. You should want, and just like partners who want the best for each other and also want the best for themselves, make the best lovers. Right. Because we're speaking of We're being selfless as much as we're being, adamant about what we want. We're making it clear. I need this. I don't like this. I want some more of this. And that open, free communication makes the best sexual environment. You don't have to worry about who climaxes first. Y'all don't have to climax together. All of those supposed to be in social conventions that you're bringing too many people into your bedroom when you bring those expectations in there. Lead them people at the door or outside. Better yet, get rid of them all together and create the life that works for you and try it. Even if you just try it for a week. Yeah. Take sex off the table. Whatever your regular, if y'all have sex 3 or 4 times a week, just take it off for a week. And see start Sunday. Wrap it up. I bet you by Sunday night, y'all, it'll be the best. You get a bang out of life. Bet you.
All right. So that's good.
But don't avoid each other while y'all doing it. Really spend time together, talk, love, compliment, and all of those things.
Sound like a fast to me.
Yeah,
right.
It does.
And what does fasting do to our lives?
Makes us focus more on God.
Right. And you see him differently. You feel him differently. He's brighter. He's stronger. You hear him more clearly.
That's true.
Do the same thing with your sex life.
Gotcha. Okay.
Pastor said, please.
You know what? I'm going to let... Okay.
He said, absolutely not.
That's another question.
Try the sensate focus. I think it'll be good for y'all.
We're going to try.
I like that.
I do too. How much do you... I am lying.
I know you lying.
How much do you hide from your wife? And so, I feel like this is a very loaded question.
Oh, how much? Like how much should you hide from?
No, how much do you or should you? I'm reading the question verbatim. Do you hide from your wife? I'm going to explain it like it was told to me. I was told by several older men when I was 25 or 26. You don't want to burden your wife with everything that you got going on.
Right.
Like.
That's vice versa.
Yeah. And my response was, no, my wife needs to know everything. And they're like, no, son, you don't tell your wife everything. Right. And the reason you don't tell them everything is because they can't handle it the way that you can. And then I said, well, what if she doesn't tell me some stuff? Blah, blah. He said, I hope she takes that to her grave too. That's why she has girlfriends. He said you need safe spaces to
depending
talk
on what it is.
Yeah, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But
you gotta steward that.
Yeah, you gotta steward
well.
that. And so, like, when we used to share like the same passwords and all that stuff, but then it came time I was like, you need your own Amazon account. Because every time I pull up Amazon, I'm seeing all the stuff she orders. I'm thinking, look, you need your own Amazon account. Then we can't surprise each other with gifts and stuff.
Right.
And so, I believe that there's nothing wrong with healthy boundaries. There's nothing wrong with she has some things that she can talk to her girlfriends about. Right. That I don't want to be a part of. As a matter of fact, when I go in a room and they talking, I leave because it's like I don't want to. That's girlfriend talk. I'm not a girlfriend. I'm a husband. So I trust that what I need to know, she's gonna share with me. But like I'm thinking, that's what you have your friends for. Right. And so you need healthy relationships of friends that you can trust or people that can pour into you. Because sometimes what I found out, for me personally, after I've talked to the right individual, it helps to shape my thinking so I can approach my spouse better. Right. And I would have approached her in the wrong headspace.
When you're talking to the right person.
Well, I'm talking to the right person.
If you'd have came right at it when it happened.
I would have messed it up.
Yeah.
And I've talked to guys, I've talked to husbands who said, well, I'm going to say, I said, no. I said, man, you can't say that to your, are you crazy? You can't go home and say that to your wife. Not like that.
Right.
And so, then I would say, I trust that she would tell me what she needs to tell me. And so if she didn't tell me, that's something I don't need to know. Or it's not a big deal. And I'll share with her just about anything that needs to be shared, but then I realize that there are some things that I need to go get a male perspective on to get a better understanding from an older man, a more wiser person that can tell me how do I approach my wife on this issue right here. And so I don't think it's necessarily hiding as much as protecting. And if you want, that seems very accusatory.
Yeah.
to me.
And willful. Like there's what I'm hearing you discuss is like wisdom and assessment and just navigating the difference between something I inform discernment. Like some things I inform you of, some things we discuss. I think that everything that it relates to the family, the structure, my movements and all that we can discuss. Some things you handle on your own and then I just inform you I may just inform you of it, but that word high that you said is loaded because there is something that you are on purpose keeping from. I don't think there should be anything that you are intentionally keeping, but there are some things that are just not for. Like I don't think if you share something with your group, like you're not like, I'm actively going to avoid telling that it's just not. It's not anything he's concerned about, not anything that he can use or need to know. It's not impacting our relationship in any way. Like even that it's just wisdom more than like that willful hide. Like if you have something that you are flat out hiding, I would be concerned. I would be concerned.
That's a problem.
And then we had some couples cards that we were doing, and it had questions like that on there, and I said this is kind of messy because it assumes it starts from the wrong place. It's like what's the secret you never told me before? Let me go to my grave without knowing the secret. That's how I am. Like me, ignorance is bliss.
Oh no.
Let me that's just me.
I feel safest when I have all the information.
But like I'm like, you know what?
I feel safest when I don't have a twisted ball.
Yeah. Okay. That's a whole.
It's an inside joke.
Next question. It says, how would you want your wife to initiate sex? What act and what gesture? How would you? Now, I will say this.
Wouldn't that be specific to that couple?
Well, I'm gonna say I.
So can we make it more general? Like, is there a way that men prefer or don't like?
Well, that's why I was gonna go next.
Oh, okay.
Because two guys in particular, two men in particular, tasked to me with saying, for so long, I was the one that pursued and initiated.
Okay.
Now that we're into this, I would like a little bit of that back. How do we go about some role reversal where I'm the one that gets to be made the big deal of? I'm the one that gets to be pursued. Aww. I'm the one that gets to be the small spoon. And so that is ladies, all the wives, I'm talking to y'all. Oh. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different men, and in some form or another, that is one of the things that they wish was there, a little bit more pursuit from their wives. And I don't know if that goes back to what we discussed on the first day where it's talking about, women can't do certain things or these,
the sexual scripts.
All this stuff like that. But it is nice. It would be nice for there to be some more effort put in by the woman towards the husband versus it always being on him. And then there is that chance of, no, not now, or, I'm not in the mood. So it that creates that, that's the challenge. So, so to say all that, we ain't that hard to figure out. like most men, if you ask us what we want, we're going to tell you. Like, we ain't that hard to figure out. If we say, hey, put on something nice, the house, whatever it is, look here, don't always sleep in your bonnet.
But we gotta protect our hair.
Now,
hold it down. Time out.
I mean,
y'all ask.
You use a satin pillowcase.
Y'all asking.
I'm just
telling
saying.
you. Look here. What we want. If we see you get dolled up for everything else, to go to work, to go to church, to go to the gym, to go to the store, all these things, doll up for us sometimes in the confines of the bedroom. Well, I'm just saying. Just understand that. Just understand. See, I'm telling you all. I feel it over here. But for the men, I'm going to speak up on this.
I hear you. I'm in agreement with you.
I want the women to hear it though.
Yes. Women, listen, women.
This has been very female heavy on a lot of things. I want the women to hear it. That as men, just no, what you say? What you always say? Show up at your best self, or how you always say that? Show up. Some of y'all want to say, I don't know, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the I definitely hear the heart of I want to, as a man, I want to be pursued. Too.
Yes,
and that is, and I also hear the struggle of being comfortable, again, that vulnerability to say that, because that is not in, unfortunately, the lexicon of what's thought to be a real man. And when it's societally, you are more. Seems to be more evolved than your regular average Joe.
I've talked to a lot of men, and that is one of their concerns. Mm-hmm. And like, we get it. You know, children, women think differently. You know, Mars, Venus, spaghetti, waffles, all that stuff. But that don't matter to us. Right. We don't care about spaghetti and waffles and Mars and Venus.
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, every now and then.
Right.
No, just show that they're worth it.
Right, and the thing is, like, the issue is that, or like the societal stereotypes, is not that the desire is there. The societal stereotypes impact how they go about making the request. Yes. And what often comes out is anger. Like, every time,
you don't got on the raggedy bonnet.
Right. Or why I always got to be the one, to start, or whatever the thing. Right.
That's when you need an older person, an older man to talk to that can say, don't talk to your wife like that. Mm-hmm.
Or just like woman. It's as we continue to work against those sexual scripts. And if you didn't watch the first episode, the sexual script is like, the scripts are those stories that we told ourselves about what sex is supposed to be, how we come to learn sex, how we regard it, how we prioritize it, all of those things. And so, like, men are the ones that initiate is a sexual script held by a lot of people. And then when you bring it into the kingdom, women are, and I said this day one, women are expected to be wet, be willing, but don't want it too much, because only a certain type of woman does that. And so we carry, and we like, you want to have the image of the Madonna, the angel, the sweet, the pure, but then in the bedroom be willing to do whatever. And that dichotomy is hard. That switch is hard to turn off for some women. And that's not excusing it, because my mode of operation is if it's inside, it can come out. If you feel it in the same way, that age old argument of, you don't never compliment me, you don't never tell I'm pretty. If you look at her and you think she look nice and you think it, you can say it. Yeah. In the same way, women, if you are aroused and you are horny, if you want some, say it. Now, whatever and make it natural. Make it to feel natural, because you may not be at the place yet where you will just flat out say, I want something, or you gonna give me something tonight. That may not be your language. It could be a text message. It could be, hey, I'm going to get in the shower. Are you gonna join me? Anything, because I think that men, because using your language, I think that men are actually very complicated, but they don't give themselves permission to be, and it's okay to be complex. But
we can be diva-ish at times.
Right? No, I mean, just they're layered. Like you're layered, and I think, but I do think though that if
I used to like onions.
But I do think that if you say, if one
talking about you,
I'm a man who said men are layered like onions.
I do think that if you say, hey, I'm going to get in the shower, you want to join me? I think they can put two and two together. Right. And it doesn't, the initiation doesn't always have to be the touch all the time. It can be, but they just want to know that you want to be here as much as they want to be here. That you want it as bad as they want it. That they are attractive to you. Like, you're attracted to them just like you want to feel beautiful. They want to feel attractive and fine. And the same things, the thoughts that we had as we age, as our bodies change, as things move to different positions, we want to know that you still
blow the equator when you get older.
Right. And you want to know that that's still okay. Right. Yeah. In the same way that you like, verbal feedback during the actual sexual practice, like, you want to know that and it is okay, to want that. So we have to work as women to lay aside those supposed to be's, but still kind of be, germane to who we are. So, like, and then that y'all can have a shorthand. Like, I ain't gonna say where I got it from, but one of the shorthands of someone I know was, if particularly in public, was like, I think I got a taste for some cake batter. And that was like, okay. And that was right. We just know, right. So you just know, right? And it's that, and by saying cake batter, that sends the signal. I know what's up. Lord Jesus.
So let me tell you. Can I tell you?
Yeah, please do.
So we have one
Okay.
and that we say, and I text him, and then he texted accidentally
My God.
to like our family, so to the kids, and one of our
Your
kids
family
was
too.
like, "Oh, I want some too." They didn't know what it was.
My
they didn't
God.
know.
Thank
It
you,
was
Lord. Thank you, Lord.
We were like,
Right, but so when that text message comes, like that's like you're not like, oh, don't just text me, but touch me too, and then it does,
Yeah.
you just it's the confidence and
Yeah.
the joy
Yeah.
that you know that she's thinking about it as much as you are, and she wants
Text
you as
the
much
right
as you are.
person.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, check it, put
Yes.
emoji or something,
Yeah.
and something that you can't miss
Yes.
on there. But it's just it really is like it's the two things working there. It's like the one partner having to lay aside those scripts, the
Yeah.
other partner having to be upfront with like, hey. I have feelings too. Like I want to be. Are you? I'm wondering if you're attracted to
So-
me as well.
So, cause since we're here, and both of you all are ladies and
I'm a lady.
and mothers, and
Yeah.
so what would you say to the husband or wife, or the wife that's listening right now, and the husband that has grown disinterested or frustrated because there's so much energy and concern put into the kids and all these other things, where we feel as though that we have fallen below or lower on the priority list, where we can see this effort being put into other things, but when it comes to what we're asking, we're not seeing the effort put in. How do you, because earlier we talked about re-engaging and stuff like that, what's the suggestion to someone who has tried, but you can't seem to make it up that list? What advice would you give to a woman, or say to a woman to ask, how would you help a woman to make sure that her husband is prioritized?
Or say to a man as well to understand that it's not, well, for me, that I wasn't, in our case, prioritizing you. If we talk about us, because we had our kids and we're busy and everything, so it wasn't always that I wasn't trying to prioritize, but it's just that the kids may actually need something that you have to do. And then to a woman who needs to let her partner know that they are important, I would say that's when communication comes in, where hopefully he will, at the right time and in the right space, communicate that to her, that, I feel like this.
Yeah.
And then if she loves him, she gonna do what she gotta do. But I think if you communicate it the right way, but with understanding that it may be that the kids actually do need certain things that I have to do. And so it's not like, well, for me, it wasn't that I wasn't trying to be there for you, but it's just that I have to do this too.
But those are one-offs.
Those are what?
I mean, like, I'm not talking about one-offs. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about like
Situational
You send me
things.
a text at 10 o'clock and then so my mind's been
okay.
all day, and so like if I get that text at 10 o'clock, I don't care. Man, a hurricane can come through and blow down 10 houses and the highway can be closed. That's my mind for the rest of the day. Whereas you done put out 1,500. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, but that is the norm.
Oh,
I'm not talking about one
I
off.
see what you mean.
Like
Yeah.
that's the norm. That's a
Okay,
habit.
well, Brittany, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's one of the situations where it's a both and as far as folks who need to do work. Like, whoever the spouse is that is being, accused of not prioritizing
Right.
the other needs to tune in. And there's a lot of times the overworking is like a pride piece. Like and there may be situations where, you had to do what the kids, but kids get to a certain age and sometimes they can fend for themselves. Sometimes
Right.
things can wait. But then also it could be a situation where we may need to prioritize our household roles.
Yeah.
Because if I'm carrying the brunt of a certain thing
Yes.
and I'm wore out, I'm in work mode, there may be a reorganization that needs to come in. And we talked about in the part one about not having that language of I'm helping out. Like you're not helping them. I'm
this
taking
together.
ownership
Right.
of these things. And know it's like, hey, I noticed that whenever it's time to have sex, you're too tired or you have something else to do. What can I take? What do you do now that I can take responsibility for?
Yeah,
That's good.
I agree.
And so
That's
from
good.
there, the load is all right. Like, because a lot of times that's the primary thing that is at least publicly stated is that I'm tired. I've been working all day, particularly young families. I've been running around with the kids all day. They want something. right after. A lot of times we see the same issue right after babies, and especially if you're nursing, you feel like you've been tugged on and your body is being used all day long. The last thing you want to do at 9 o'clock at night is be touched again.
Yeah,
and so
that's hard for a young man to grasp. That's why we need older men.
Right.
And
conversation like this to know, because then also knowing that it's not just, it's very rarely that what you're going through is just happening in your house. And we are
Even
all struggling,
like
right? And feel like
Not
that
the
rain
only
cloud is only on your head,
Yeah.
but like we're all going through this or something similar, and we have to, like I said earlier, we're both the victim and the villain in the same story. We have to find the ways where we need to improve, where we need to ask questions, where we need to be honest about the feelings beyond, like we talked about yesterday, behind happy, mad, and sad. Like, are you feeling neglected? Because that's a lot of in these questions we've been talking about so far, really at the core of that pain or the bitterness is neglect. I feel neglected. But in our big ages as adults, we don't like we all self-sufficient.
Yeah.
We don't want to say that because we're in self-preservation mode. But if you got to name it to heal it.
Yeah. And say you feel neglected.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was looking I got another set of questions, but I'll read this last one. These were sent in. To make this plain. What does lingerie do for men? A lot. Now, there are some men, we're different, because I've talked to some men, it's like wrapping paper on a gift. It's just in the way. They don't, like, why you waste money on a wrapping paper and why you waste money on a gift bag? It's just in the way. Like, why would you go spend $6 on a gift bag? We have no idea. It's just in the way.
But aren't you more excited to open the gift that is well wrapped?
Some men. Now, for other men, that's our joint. Like, it does a whole lot. And for me, I can't say for anyone else, but for me, what that does is it shows you're worth it. It shows that you're worth it, because if you
put some effort into it.
Yeah, you put effort into it, because if like you get dressed up to go everywhere else and do everything and see people and go all this stuff, when you dress up for your husband, or when it's for nobody else, it's not because you're taking pictures. It's not because you're going to the office. It's not because you're going to the store. It's not for any other reason but for that person. That does a lot. That says a lot too. So the idea, and that's both sides. Cause some guys I talk to, they're like, man, it's like, who cares? And for others, quite a few men I talk to, and it just adds another layer to it. It's just intrigue, and it does. And then you have to find something, obviously, if you are a woman that you're comfortable in wearing. And I promise you,
and go shopping for it together.
Don't care what it looks like.
Or if he does, y'all can go shopping. That's another new experience. Y'all can go shopping for it together. Say, hey, honey, pick something out for me, because even that, like, gift, put it in, put the wrapper, right, and like, I got this for you. I'd like you to wear it, like, whatever.
Ladies, I hope y'all taking notes.
And also understand that when we think about sexual preparation,
do you understand the amount of men that I have talked to?
Taking notes.
Cause see, now I'm gonna tell you the challenge. I'm gonna tell you the challenge for us as men, and I say it because we can't argue with y'all. And if we have not yet learned how to craft our words where it doesn't land like an attack and there's an all-out defense mode. And so when we express something or we say something, there's a fence that is taking, but when we're so used to being direct and just saying certain things, and so we're not meaning to offend, and then it turns into an argument, then y'all get into twisting words on us, and then it's like, man, I don't know what we're talking about. Now you're talking about something that happened back in 2017 when you got stuck on the side of the road. How did we get there? So I'm just saying.
That's that black girl magic.
Yeah, that black girl magic is exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's that melanin popping. So just take notes and understand that is what the men that I've talked to. Now it was a small handful. It was like, nah. Dude,
I mean, but ask your partner.
Yeah.
Like, why just ask, like, is this something you're interested in? And then also,
Yeah.
when we talk about, like, framing the question, a lot of times, and it's default sometimes to say, why don't you X, Y, and Z? Or when was the last time you A, B, and C? As opposed to framing it from the place of desire, like, hey, I would really like to see you in X. Can you? Right? Like, so now it's like a desire. You're establishing the desire as opposed to it from a complaint. Like, you're making it a request and not a complaint.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's that soft startup sometimes to, like, say, I would really love, you can lead with a compliment, like, or, like, bring a memory that you really enjoy. You remember when we went to and you had, like, I love them. Like, do you have that?
Catch them with honey instead of vinegar.
Do you still have that? Can you wear that again?
Robust.
What? No, that's Proverbs, right?
It is. But yeah.
And also understanding that this, I mean, you know, Pastor Q is speaking for men that he's spoken to, but and there are that group that don't want it, and then there's a group that wants something different altogether. You know what I mean? In the same way, and this is another little known fact. Like, did you know?
Please tell me.
No, I'm not gonna do. Did you know? True or false?
Okay.
Pubic hair prevents the transmission of bacteria, reduces the transmission of bacteria and or STIs.
I'm gonna say false.
True. Because you said, did you know? So I'm gonna say
false.
true.
It is true.
Oh, shut your mouth. Cool.
Pubic hair does for the vulva what eyelashes do for the eyes. It keeps, you know, debris and bacteria and things like that that can gather, and it keeps it from, you know, or reduces the transmission of it. And so pubic hair is healthy, but, you know, in our society, aesthetically, that's not everybody's, you know, preference. And we want to be sure that we're not prioritizing preference over health. But that doesn't mean if you don't have pubic hair that you're going to, it's a problem. But, you know, making sure keeping it trimmed and well maintenance, both men and women, trimmed and well maintenance is, you know, but there is a use for pubic hair. But the point of saying that is just making sure you're having that discussion about interest and then finding that middle ground. Because it could be something that your partner is in dire need of, would love, and just gets their goat. And you're like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just one of the things, or it's only a special occasion thing, and be okay. And in the same way with grooming, you know, change like practical things, like make sure you're changing out your underwear. Like, we know we got the same underwear over and over again, that there are holes, or the band is coming from the top, the elastic. Okay, them little beads done grow up on the thing, and you keep trying to change. Just, you know, throw them away. Refresh your t-shirts so that they're still white and not fluorescent beige. Like little things like that. Like, but the Pastor Q mentioned that effort. Like, you care, you tried, you are, you know, concerned. So it may not be lingerie, but your loungewear, like, you know, so not in bleached and stains and holes. Like, and you can be comfortable and still look decent. Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes that gets dicey with, you know, respectability politics and take me how I am and all of that. Yes, but I mean, for your own sake, there is a confidence that comes with how, you know, how you look. And in the same way with lingerie, it's not always, it's great when your husband enjoys it. But there are times where lingerie is for you. You put it on and you like how you look when you're in the mirror, and you stand up a little straighter, that sensuality, you're a little more sensual, you're a little more willing to, you know, do, and it feels better because you feel good.
Yeah. You got to dress for the part. Like, you got to dress for success.
It's a source of, it can be for some people a source of erotic power. And when you feel erotically empowered, that's a great, again, that foundation for sexual excellence. Erotic power and vulnerability and desire and discipline and all of these buzzwords that we were saying, all of them can coexist together.
Right.
That's good.
So that was good. So that was good stuff.
Good questions, men.
Huh?
Yes.
Good questions, man.
Yeah. Got another. It says most girls get their menstrual cycle by age 15. Society tells these young girls to get a college education, if at all possible, since they may have to take care of themselves. College ends about 25 years old. That will give a young female 10 years of God-given hormonal sexual desires, burning, lusting, dreaming, World gives numerous intercourse examples of modeling per week. If a young lady states she's in love, we tell them they don't know what real love is and close the subject. The Bible states if you're burning, it is better to marry. We tell young ladies, don't marry young. Many times we soon see a lump in the young lady's abdomen. How do elders advise young ladies to deal with 10 years of physical sexual desires, biblically if possible? I'm old, but I talk to many people, and they have social activities they do and pray about. And they do pray. They have social activities, they do pray. So you discussed this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll have that full episode on abstinence, but really it's understanding that 15 to 25 is really being generous.
Yes,
especially with the things with the way whatever's in the food nowadays. We have young people reaching puberty at 8, right? And and boys, they reach puberty around and develop their their sperm and things like that around like 10, and so people are getting married later and later and later. So if you get at 15 and get married fresh out of college, that's an anomaly, right? And so I think that being able, first thing we need to do, like I said, we recommended sexpositivefamilies.com. Great resource for how to have these type of conversations, because definitely telling young people, you don't know what real love is, because when we were their age, we was in love as much as we ever knew what love was. We felt every bit of it, right? And we get older and we forget that we were their age.
Yes.
And so again, being aspable means showing up. Showing up for the young people in a way that you wish someone would have shown up for you. And so yes, the activities and social things and community and all of that are great, having someone to turn to be able to act, but really giving them a space to be curious will work wonders in ways that's one of the things that a lot of us did not have. We didn't have anywhere to turn to ask this question. We didn't have a sex week to hear these things. We just had, there was trial and error for many of us. So for older folks or for adults who have young people who you love in your life, educate yourself on what's happening now. Be aware. You don't have to have a TikTok to be aware of what's going on, because that way you can contextualize your support. You can contextualize what resources you connect them to, how you delegate from one place to the next, and be truthful about your experience. That's the other thing we guard as older folks. We sometimes guard our mistakes because we want to keep our young people from suffering how we had. But sometimes we're doing a good job by making sure they don't have to go down the path that we did, but still let them know what happened. I remember I struggled with that when I was your age. Yeah, that was hard. How are you? What are some of the ways that you're coping? See what's going on with them right now. Yeah. And then because you want it, sometimes when we are youth serving adult or youth serving professional or whatever, we want to give them everything. Like, I'm not going to hold back nothing. Yeah. But sometimes that can also be problematic. Like, ask them what they really want to know. Like, because sometimes they'll ask the question, don't give them too much, because it's like they be looking at you like, okay, I just wanted to know where I can buy some tampons from. Because now you done got into the life cycle, ovulate. I just wanted to know about a tampon, right? You know what I mean? We do. And because we want to it's that protect. It come from a good place. It's protection. We want to protect them. But they're also experts of their own needs. And sometimes we don't give them.
So mean. Yeah.
Sometimes we don't give them. Sometimes we don't give them permission to be experts of their own needs. So really continue to talk to them, continue to do what you're doing, and recognize this weight, it ain't the same as the Bible, it ain't the same as in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. This is a whole beast of, because what more and more what we're realizing is that my pastor says all the time, Christians, we're the away team. We're not the home team no more. That's right. We're not the whole team, but we are. We are Cowboys in Eagle Stadium. Yes. Is what he was saying. We have to recognize that. So
I'm going to steal past Brown. I like that.
Thanks, Brown.
Yeah. I'm gonna quote you once, and then after that, this is gonna be my saying.
My God.
Yeah. That's what the pastor told me.
Like I always say.
Yeah, like I always say. So that's good.
So that's what we have to recognize, and we equip them as much as possible. Be there, but you equip them on the front end, and then be there on the back end if they need you.
So I've got 5 questions from husbands and 7 questions from wives from our Art of Marriage event, And so what we're going to do, we're going to let the ladies go first. And so these
It's questions for wives? Okay.
From wives. And so the first 7 questions I'm going to read are from the wives. Ooh. The first question is, why do you think it's okay to look at other women when we are together?
Oh, so you have to answer that. Because these questions are from wives for men.
I don't see other women. Like, yeah, oof, that's tough. That's a loaded question.
I think that it's natural.
That's what I was going to say.
But it depends on noticing
right.
looking.
Yeah.
That's 2 different.
Like, noticing versus gawking is different.
Because
you can look. I mean,
there's some things.
Are you licking your lips and getting on
doing all
things are made up nowadays, so some things you're going to notice.
Right.
Yeah, some things you're going to notice.
And 9 times out of 10, sis, you saw it too. That's why we both, you saw me see it because you was looking too.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
It's like, so it's like, we can't help,
Right.
So it's one thing to notice, but it's another thing. And then I think some guys do it in a non-sexual, harmful way. Mm-hmm. They just look. There's nothing there. But I don't. Yeah, that question. Why do you think?
So I'll say
things you just see,
and certain things just happen. There's a respect that comes with it, and just in general, because even if you weren't married, like, don't gawk at people, like just don't stare, and that's it. It's inappropriate. But also, I think it is a fallacy to think that you are going to be the only person that your spouse is attracted to. That's not realistic. Mm-mm. And honestly, the fact that you know that your partner find other people attractive, which is the difference between I'm attracted to them and I notice that they are attractive. Mm-hmm. There's difference, but they notice all of that, see all of that, and still choose you.
That's good,
right? Because you see, I want you to be able to see what's happening. Don't have blinders on. Don't pick me because I'm the only option. Yeah. See what you can see and be like, nah, but Brittany though. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I think that we have this almost. With monogamy and loyalty, we kind of conflate with this possession that is not healthy. Like, and we want to possess our partner's desire. We want our partner's behavior, comings and goings, and all of that. There's no trust in that. Yeah. We have our relational norms, the established rules of engagement of our union, and then there's the trust that you're going to do it. Because if there's a relationship that I have to police you, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think we just, if this sounds like there was a tone in that, maybe just how you read it, but there was a tone in that felt like somebody was doing something they ain't had no business. That's what that.
Yeah. So my advice is that whoever man this is, stay away from the mall on the weekend. Don't go to the beach.
Exercise some self-control.
Yeah, and just look at and get some sunshades. Next question.
Get an eye patch.
Yeah. Well, just get some glasses on.
Don't feed into him.
Look, and do like the women do. Don't turn your whole body in your head. Just women look with their eyes. They see it way before we do. So just do like women do, and just don't make it so obvious next time. Cause you think she ain't looking, she looking. Like she noticed. Like.
You may notice. You ain't looking. You ain't trying to find. You just may notice.
I mean, that's true. Gray sweatpants season is a thing for a reason.
Yeah. See, exactly.
You know what that is?
I know what that is.
Okay.
It's like sundress season. Yeah.
Well, shut my mouth wide open. Go on faster.
So, this is another question.
You know too much.
I do a lot of reading.
Amen.
Why don't you set an atmosphere prior to wanting sex?
Oh, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Ask that go-to question. So on thegreencouch.com from that's where I got that question from. The use your mouth. Y'all hear me say that all week. That's the conversation day. How do you like to feel before sex? You ask that question, you already know how to set the atmosphere. And then you just have to be humble enough and willing to actually do it. You working against your own orgasm by being like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Just that's good. Yeah, just help us out. I would say this: sometimes we need help. You might have to show us what songs to play.
Make a playlist. Y'all can do that together. Yeah.
Make a playlist. We have certain things. Let us know what needs to be taken care of in the house, and then let us know what we need to do specifically to get you in the mood. What works for you? Whether it's you give us index cards,
communication,
text us a list, you give us date night options.
Put a sex checklist. In the bedroom, and you can go through and make sure everything is okay before you even approach. But the one thing I will say, and this could just be me, but that let us know what needs to be done around the house. You live here too, you know, you can look and see, because that's the other thing. For some people, I'm not gonna say women, but for some people who require that, if I have to do the work of explaining to you what I need done, then I might as well just do it myself. Now that can work against you because people can't read your mind, but there's certain things that you see the dishes. Like I don't have to explain, can you wash the dishes? Like, cause that's.
Well, I mean, but just like that, there has to be I can step over things that don't bother me that bother her because I don't see it.
And that's frustrating.
You gotta have soft eyes.
And so I don't. So it takes time.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, or if I just hear, I can hear her tone, and be like, oh, when I'm tired the night before, so I go to sleep. I wake up, I say, okay, I gotta get all this stuff out the way because I don't want to have to see this, or you know what, the clothes need to be put up, so let me go ahead and put the clothes up, just because whatever the case may be. And so, as we learn each other over time, we know what our spouse needs. We just gotta make sure we're not lazy and we do it.
That part.
Why is our sex life the same way all the time? Same time, same position.
Ooh,
change it up.
That's somebody who's not happy with the sex they're having.
No, they ain't. So that's from a wife,
right? And that husband probably had the question of, man, she don't ever want to.
Yeah. Because there's another one that person says, why do you reject my... Okay, so...
Go back and watch the other
the other
sessions.
Yeah. So...
We talked about it.
We just need to learn.
Yeah.
And she also needs to speak up.
Yeah.
If it's the same every time, somewhere you're affirming that you enjoy this the same every time. And silence is affirmation.
Yeah.
Particularly until you get to the...
and ideas.
Yeah.
Particularly until you get to the place where you want them to be, tuned in and be able to see your body language and all of that. Yeah. Yes, but until y'all build that level of communication, you have to be remove any type of confusion. Say, hey, I don't like this. I would like more of this. Can we try this? And again, that's where that red, yellow, and green would work. That's where the introduce, increase, interrupt, or the flat out. If you are a more straightforward couple, what's some things that you would like to change about our sex life? But you have to. It's a two-way street. He can't fix it if he don't know, and you're gonna continue to be unsatisfied if you don't speak up.
I just say
talk about it.
It ain't that hard.
Or it could be.
Well, it could be, but like if it's the same thing all the time, there are books. There's so many different things. Games that you can do. Just dice. Dice. Conversation cards. What's that thing we do? The table topics for couples.
The table topics for couples.
The other ones we have, just conversation cards, sitting there, going through some things, talking. If it's just the same old routine, the same, this is it's Thursday at 3:30. Yeah, okay, you know what time it is. It's like make it 3:35.
I mean, but even if the timing thing, I don't actually have a problem with, because we talked about how effective scheduling sex can be.
But it's not like this person wants a little more spontaneity.
See, but when you have a family, I don't know their life, so spontaneity may work if they're empty nesters or and they both work from home. You can be spontaneous, but in the world we live in, that's not really realistic. And then and it's too dependent on, again, competing priorities and waning emotions and feelings. But if Thursday at 3:30 we're gonna get busy, and then we've already appointed you the sex captain, then you are creating that environment that you want. And so if she has an issue with the way things are, she may need to take the reins and create that environment a few times so that he can see what he was. So model it first, and then he can base the new changes off of that. And when that gets stale and you want to introduce them to, come on, Captain, back in the game. You know what I mean? I think this is just a simple issue of communication and and maybe modeling. Yeah. Because sometimes sometimes people don't listen that well, and so sometimes I can show you better than I can tell. I can show you better than I can tell you.
That's the toxic femininity. Okay,
that's not how that works.
So it's funny. This is on both sides. Why don't you initiate sex more often? I want to feel desired as well. And so, I will say this. In speaking to men, there are certain things that affect our libido. And so, if we are out of shape, if we're under a certain amount of stress, if we have certain medical conditions, we might need to go talk to our doctor. We might need to change up our eating habits. We might need to take the telephone. Take the TV out the bedroom, or have certain nights where we put our phones up, where we remove those things that would take up our time, and take us away from one another. And so it could be, and oftentimes as men, we don't, in circles with one another, we don't have these conversations about the things that are affecting us, because that's not the typical locker room talk or how we talked growing up. And but as you get past a certain age, you can't eat what you used to eat. You can't do the things you used to do and it not affect you in the bedroom. So there might be some issues. Is he on medication? If he's on a certain medication that's affecting him a certain way, that might be a challenge. And so I think with that, that would have to be a safe space created, because most of us as men, we not gonna share stuff like that. We're not gonna say stuff like that. We ain't gonna, and we definitely gonna tell another man. So we have to make sure that we do have that older person that we can talk to, and that you as a wife might need to see if he's if there's something else, because as we get older, stress does affect us. All these different things play a part, and so it might be an actual physical condition, something, a medical condition, something that's wrong. And then the other one, it's kind of the same thing. If you want to feel desired, then why don't you initiate sex more often? Is it less than what it used to be? Is the appetite shrank a little bit?
Or what was the process of, like, it could have been, because I'm wondering, it could be, like you said, it could be mental or physical, or it could be a situation where they were initially initiating, and then the amount of rejection or the process that happened, and it was like, okay, I'm not going, I'm not going to, anymore. So I think that's another place where you all need to come back to the table and figure out what's going on.
And I heard something a while back, and I don't think that women fully understand how that rejection feels from your spouse over a period of time, and what that can do to a man for his advances to be rejected. That does have a psychological effect on us. Probably not so much as when we're younger, but as guys get older, some of the men that I've talked to that kind of disengaged, that was one of the reasons. It was like the rejection, the excuses, and then the lack of effort. It's like, well, I'm not going to pursue anymore. And then you're not used to pursuing, so you're not going to pursue up. And so it boils back down to communication.
Right.
But so yeah, what caused you to lose interest, and why do you just check out? That's what a wife said about her husband.
There's no way for us to answer that.
Yeah.
She would have to ask him that directly.
Yeah.
Because there's so many reasons that can cause a person to lose interest, that cause a person to check out. And then we talk in Bible study, separating the difference between desire and attraction and actual love and emotional connection to the relationship. All desire is fleeting. Love may not necessarily be, but it also could, because unconditional love is not we work towards it, but we're humans and finite. And so that is definitely a direct conversation you need to have with your partner.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds like communication.
Yep.
And then there needs to be a change of a routine or something.
Or there's a hard feeling. There's a hurt feeling or a hard discussion that's being avoided.
Yeah. And so how do you feel about my stretch mark? Man, we don't care. I never, in all my years of living, ever heard a man.
Some men that care.
Huh?
You don't think?
Look, some do. I think some do, but most of the men that I've come in contact with in all my years of living, that goes from work, that goes from the gym, everything. I've never heard a man say anything negative about a woman's stretch marks. Never. I've never heard a man say anything negative about stretch marks or cellulite. Never.
I would ask, how do you feel about your stretch marks?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. It's us. We're our own worst enemies.
Sometimes. A lot of times it's projection, and it's the thought that obviously you have to have a problem with the stretch marks because you do. And you know, like there are some people who do, there are some people who don't. But with any type of like aesthetic issue, I would always encourage you to check like what does the stretch mark mean for you, and then if he does have a problem with it, what then will that mean for you? How do you feel about him having a problem with your stretch mark, or how is it that what if he enjoyed them? What if he like, oh, I love them, they're the greatest thing, I'm so excited that they're there. Would that make you feel better? Would you still feel a way about the stretch marks because you don't like so yeah, there's some internal stuff to do there.
Yeah, and Propaganda made a song. He's a rapper, a spoken word guy, rapper. He made a song about stretch marks, and so I would say go to YouTube, look up Propaganda stretch marks. It's a beautiful song, by the way. Yeah. And so it's nice. It's pretty tight.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Same thing with that question.
Yeah. What do you think of a woman with a big stomach? I mean, she happy. I mean,
beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then what's big? You know,
subjective.
That's relative.
She need to talk to her husband.
Yeah, that's something you should ask.
And talk to herself.
Yeah. If you have issues with that, then I would say if that's something that you struggle with, either A, is it projected, or B, are you looking at how you used to be, whatever the case would be. And if it is, then just simply start one day at a time doing something about it. Instead of just sitting in it, feeling a certain way.
If you want to.
If you
want
to. Yeah. If you want to do something about it, and if you don't, then just that's what it is, and that's gonna be cool. But the number of men that I've talked to that have said that their wives have gained too much weight has really been slim to none. None of the men that asked me like that approached me or I talked to or I've been talking to, 6 and 7 wasn't even on their mind. 9 times out of 10, we love our wives the way that they are. And we're not asking them to change their appearance or who they are. That's not, I didn't receive any of that, any of those questions. I didn't talk to any man that was fundamentally unhappy with his wife's appearance or, I think sometimes we get so caught up in this Hollywood thing and this image and what it's supposed to look like, and you're not gonna have washboard abs if you got little kids and you got sports and you got work and you got all these other things competing for your attention. You can't spend 3 hours in the gym. And you might just have to go run and get some chicken nuggets or some dollars.
Okay.
That sounds so good.
Or you may just want to. So I mean, I think that goes back to what we talked about day one, that bodily integrity, right? And that when you are honoring or presenting your body as a living sacrifice, and understanding this is the temple of the Holy Spirit, how you regard your body is just as important as what you do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you are speaking down, speaking negatively, looking bad about, you're looking down and speaking negatively about where the Holy Spirit dwells. So welcome, like your body is your body. Begin to speak good things over it, look at it, take it in and figure out what it is that it's doing, how it has, thank you for how it served you. If there is a, bodies change, and if there's a grieving problem, like if you were right, and if you were sometimes people are like really connected to their physique, right? I had this when I was in high school, all my life, and then this thing happened, or that thing, or an illness, or whatever. Because in the same way, we did talk about this yesterday. The same way, like with health concerns and things, like you had cancer, you had a mastectomy, and all that. Grieve those things, right? We don't give yourself permission to grieve what used to be, but then also either embrace what you have now, or if there is something that you can work towards, that if you know, like you have an issue with your stomach and you know that you eat Twinkies and Doritos and chips and all the other, I understand that I go to the gym because I like to eat. And so I am able to stay about where I am because I eat as much as I work out. And so I can't then also complain about it, right? But I also had to deal with my relationship with food and recognize that I run to food when I'm depressed. I run to food when I'm anxious. And I had to, I had to deal with that. And then me and Guy had to have a conversation is why am I running to Doritos instead of him?
Right.
And that's the conversation. It's under the or spicy nacho. This is under the umbrella of sexuality, but really it's the last two questions particularly we want to start inward. Yeah. We want to start inward before, we project out.
And I will say this. I know my kid, I said, he got a story for everything. I was 22 years old, 23 years old. And I went to a conference with a room full of pastors and preachers. And the presenter, the pastor that was talking, he was talking to husbands and stuff, and he was describing his wife. And he said, when we first got married, she was a frail old thing. He said, but then she had a couple kids, he said her frame started to fill out. And she started to fill out. And all the men just erupted and was going crazy and yeah, yes sir, doc, say it. I'm thinking I didn't get what it means. Man, sometimes the weight that you pick up over the years, the Lord just positions it in the right spot just the way you want it. And so some of the things that you are concerned about, I promise you, we are not. I promise you we are not. Some of the things that are a bigger issue than you, don't let that voice in your head drown out our voices. So,
and then, and place it where it is. Like if the issue is the issue, it's the issue because it's your issue and not theirs.
Right.
Because there are things that, I love this weight on you, and then I don't feel good about it. This extra 15 pounds on my knee, my knees hurt, my back hurt, and all of that kind of thing.
That's why I say
and so because we can't lean into because this all people say, if your husband like it, you'll be fine. No, that's not always that's not always the case. Right.
So that was those. So those were the questions from the wives to the husbands.
Lord.
And so here come the questions from the men to the wives, the husbands to the wives. And it shows that we're layered. And that we have
more complex. Yes.
It says, do you feel like my desires or needs are more significant than yours?
Significant in importance or in volume?
I don't know. It says,
is asking,
do you feel like my desires or needs are more significant than yours? That's just like a man would ask a question.
Right. Because what does that even mean?
I get it.
I can't answer.
Okay, explain.
So when I read this, what I'm hearing,
I
got to translate man because their toxic femininity.
That's not a thing. That's not a thing. But go ahead.
It's just not. See how they so quick to say it's not a thing.
That's not a thing.
But basically
like
what they're saying is that
I'm just saying.
Do you feel like my desires and needs are more significant than yours? And so this can go one of two ways. Either this is someone
one of 8 ways.
Who is not allowing. This is a wife who is not allowing herself to be served by a husband, or this is a husband who is looking for more from his wife, and he feels like she's not matching his energy.
Really?
Because there's a comparison between yours and mine.
Do you think that my needs are not important? Is that what he's saying?
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
No. Or do you think
my desires or needs
are more significant than yours? Like, do you think do you think I'm doing too much? Like, have I been doing too much? That's what I got at it. Like, have my desires and needs overshadowed what you need and desire?
You need to ask her.
Yes.
Obviously, we struggle with asking questions. See how we what he's saying.
The question rephrase. I don't know that question. So ask her, if this husband, ask her, how can they make it a little bit more acute, because that way it's more tangible. How can I show up for you this week? And then is there in the last week, have I done anything that you felt was selfish or not considerate of your need, use that same language, of your needs or desires, and then go from there.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
I hope we answered this
question.
don't.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I hope we answered
I hope so too. Sorry.
He just wants his desires and needs to be recognized.
Is that what that is?
So that's the opposite.
Yeah.
Why didn't he say, do you feel like my desires or needs aren't as important as yours?
Because we as men, we do things differently. Every now and then, we don't feel like rubbing two verbs together.
Clearly,
Yeah.
you're missing some adjectives and a couple
Like, you see,
infinitives
I
too.
wasn't insensitive to the woman's question. I was affirming. I just want y'all to recognize this toxic femininity.
I apologize. That was
I
wrong.
think
That
he's
was not
saying,
nice.
why do you feel like my needs are not as important as yours?
Yeah.
I don't think
that's
that's not
that's
what
what I thought.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Okay, so I'm gonna role play. Do you feel like my desires and needs are more significant than yours? Yeah,
She'd
no,
be
it's
like,
not.
no.
Yeah. I don't get
So
it.
then he'd have to explain. why
Unless he
that way.
feels like, or unless he does feel like because he's the husband, his desires and needs are more significant, and he wants to know if she agrees.
I don't know.
Okay.
Then that's a no.
For us, it's simple.
Desires and needs should be it's always equity. That's what we've been
Yeah.
talking about all week.
Right.
Is equity.
Yeah, I think it's what does the other person need
Yep.
to feel like,
Submit yourself
yeah,
one to another.
yeah.
Yes. Do you expect me to maintain self-control?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Well, y'all got to answer.
What?
Self-control is a fruit of the spirit. Yes. As a believer,
God wants you
as a believer, as a
exercise self-control
husband,
first.
Yeah.
all of those things. Yes, we want you to
Yes.
exercise self-control. I think an important way for this discussion to go a little deeper, be applicable, is what areas of our marriage do you feel like I could stand to exercise a little more self-control?
Yeah, that's true. That would be good.
I feel like they knew the answer.
You what?
I feel like they knew the answer to that.
Well, baby,
Maybe
they answered the
not.
question. We didn't.
I was okay.
If the question was asked, they didn't know the answer.
How now? I have a question. When this went
Are you
down,
not asking the questions right?
no, it
I'm
word for
reading.
word.
Oh, okay.
So when they were asking for these questions during Art of Marriage, how was that framed? Because maybe we're missing the
It was
context.
framed in a sense of we had breakout sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and there were things that the wives and the husbands had a chance to discuss. So they wrote down questions or thoughts on cards.
Oh, that changed. That kind of changes it.
Yeah, because it was during the Art of Marriage. And in the Art of Marriage, yeah, that does. Because in the Art of
That
Marriage,
changes
it was
it.
talking about the different roles of husbands and wives,
Right.
and the ins and outs of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so, cut it because
I'm
as
sorry.
men,
That was
we're
a good,
supposed to
your
love
question
and
was a
lead.
good question.
We're supposed to love and lead.
Yeah.
That
Whoever
that
you
was
are.
the main charge that they gave to men was to love and lead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would imagine when I left, I felt as though I questioned whether or not I was doing enough for my wife. And then I'm pretty sure some people question whether or not their wives were matching their energy. So it could have been one or two ways.
And so that's how I took that first one. Like it with that context, has there been have my desires and needs been taken center stage more
Over
than it
yours.
should?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So
Because those are specific questions that they were asking to their spouse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going to be,
Yeah. Okay. Next question.
yeah. And since this was centered around sex, we're
Yeah.
taking that in the
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That was a really good question.
Yeah.
Very
That's what
insightful.
I'm sorry about that.
Very insightful.
Yeah.
Just-
Whoever you are, just know we.
That was really good.
So this was another one. Why don't you want whatever? Why don't you want to show me any intimacy?
So that's somebody talking to their wife.
Yes, all these are husbands talking to their wives.
Well, hopefully the previous videos.
Yeah,
Have
that.
been
I think that
helpful.
leans
I think
into
that
the
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 conversations-
vulnerability or wanting to be
Yeah.
the little spoon and wanting to be desired and all those things.
But what would you all say as women that a wife should do? What's one or two things a wife could do to show up for her husband in this area if he's feeling like she's not showing him any intimacy?
I feel like if he's been telling her what he would like, then just making sure she plans time to do those things.
And
Yeah.
it's really not the complicated thing that you have to figure out.
Yeah.
Ask what, and again, make it specific. How
It
can
sound
I
like he's already
what
Yeah.
can I do today? What can I do this week? What do that way
and
to
put it on the calendar and just
like, or even that, because
Yeah.
intimacy for some people, even though we kind of unpacked it, is like it's vague.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, why don't you want to show me? What does intimacy look like? When was the last time you made a bid for intimacy
Yeah.
that I rejected? Because we may not even see, like, if let's say you in the kitchen cooking and you focus on getting the meal done, and Pastor come behind you and like wrap his arms around your waist and want to snuggle you, like, come on, babe, I'm cooking. Yeah. Like you don't think you think it's harmless, but you like run away like
a whole turn down.
It's a rejection. So like those
you done turn me down.
Right, and we don't want to and then you may not make that bid again, right? Yeah. So we got to figure out what, and when we're in the zone, particularly again with families, when we're in the zone, we may not notice those it's intent versus impact.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So impact unfortunately all the times matters above intent. You can intend all the wellness or goodness in the world, but if it doesn't land like that,
that's not good.
That's not it's not good. So
So okay. So what is it? Okay. Why do you neglect any gestures of love?
That's another one of those umbrella things. What's a gesture of love look like? And this is, and then I'm very not skeptical. I'm very intentional about how I speak about love languages, right? Because people have taken love languages and made them a prescription for everything that we do in life, right? It's not that simple because it's more descriptive, and it's like, this is what I love or appreciate more. But being loved well is all of them, right? Yeah. Be like, we talk about like, nobody says, nobody says, buy me things, but don't hug me. Buy me, hug me, but don't tell me I'm pretty. Like nobody, we really want all of them to be loved well. And so a gesture of love may not mean the same thing. Like I could be the greatest fried chicken maker this side of heaven. I mean, people come from far and wide to eat my chicken. I make fried chicken every single day for my husband out of love because I want him to eat good. And if he's a vegan, what that fried chicken don't mean a hill of beans.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And if I'm turning, if he's consistently turning his plate down, I'm like, every time I cook for you every night, and it's the issue of why not speak up and tell her you a vegan. But also, if it does, it's again intent and impact. So identify the ways that those gestures, what those gestures of love are, and ask like, I did X, Y, and Z, and not in like a keeping score kind of way, but hey, when I did X, Y, and Z, I was really excited. I thought you would really enjoy it. It didn't seem like you did.
Yeah.
And then what more importantly,
what gestures do you like?
Yeah. What does love look like lived out to you? Yes.
Yeah. Why do you not like gestures?
Yeah.
Because they may be like, I don't need all of that. Because that's the thing. Well, sometimes it's not like a flat out rejection, but it doesn't come with all the fanfare. And so now we feel away. But that's also a personality thing. Like, and when I was married, we used to, one of our ongoing jokes was I would buy him a gift and he'd be like, oh, thanks, babe. And I'd be like, that's it. And y'all see when I get it, oh my God. And that wasn't his personality. It wasn't his response, and then we got into but when you playing a video game, you scream and holler. When you playing, like it was this comparison thing, but it really got down to a personality thing, and I began to watch when his mom buy him gifts. He not really, when the kids do it, like how you a kid draw your picture, you be like, oh my God, this is so bad. And I'm like, no, don't. But that was just, it was his thing. And sometimes we can't, equity means not expecting you from your partner, but the same intensity, the same value, but in the way, the same meaning, but in the way that is natural for them. Yeah. But that all thanks, babe, that used to set me off so bad. Like, what you don't want enough mine, I take it back. And I used to, and I had, with growth and after a while being married, you get better.
That poor man up.
I did. I used to be so high, like I'm not buying you nothing else. Forget it. Buy it yourself. I was so mad, but I got better. I matured and I realized it got better.
Last question.
Yes.
Why do you reject my random advances?
That's the
same thing. Some people don't like random advances. Yeah. You can't expect you out of them.
Especially at the wrong time.
Right. Like, have you ever asked, do you like random advances? People are on guard. People are focused. People are thinking. Same way. Like, think about with the kids. Like, my oldest, he's very touchy-feely. And I don't... I don't like that. Like, get off of me. I don't like that. But in the same way, my baby boy, not so much. And I find myself being more inclined to hug and cuddle him because he gives me an opportunity to come to him and take, whereas my oldest is like taking it, right? So with partners, like, they may want to either a warning that it's coming or, people nerves is bad. Like, don't come up from behind me. I'm gonna jaw you. Like, stop. And just, it's the same thing. Like, asking the questions of, like, do you enjoy that? And then detach your needs from that. Because if you're doing it because it's for, are you doing it because you want to express something to them, or it's somehow something for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or are you asking, because that's something you want,
right?
That you're not getting,
right?
Yeah,
right.
And that could be the case. That could be the case,
right?
And so, that was all the questions we had. Was there anything else that either one you want to add, or?
I think this was good. We done went.
This is a lot of questions.
I mean, we went
good.
mountain to molehill, everywhere in between.
This is good.
Hopefully, this has been a blessing to you.
Yes.
And it has given you things to discuss and talk about. And this week has helped us practically in our walk with Christ from the area of abstinence, realizing that we are not saving ourselves for our spouse, but we're saving ourselves for God, because that's what He requires of us, to offer ourselves as living sacrifices. Right. And then also that within the confines of marriage, that we are serving one another, that we as men, we learn the art of marriage, are loving and leading. And we are doing what's required of us, and vice versa for women as well, in the roles of respecting and following the lead, and that means it is a equitable relationship.
There we go.
Equitable.
We are both giving what the other needs as best we can, and respecting that and acknowledging the effort of our spouses. And so I'm going to let y'all two have the last word, and then if there's anything y'all want to say.
I would say communication is golden. That most of the things that we deal with, we could find, answers to. We just talk. We just talk about it, and finding that safe place and time where we can be vulnerable and share how we feel, that we would solve a lot of it. And also, if you can't, if you need help, just like you go to the doctor when you're sick, if you need help and you can't do it on your own, that there are resources available. There are people available who can help. You have the Intimacy Firm. Yeah. As we said, you can contact the church if you need to at See Friendship. I was going to say seefriendship.org, but what's the web? Info at seefriendship.org. And you can get help if you need it. So just know that there is help available, and know that you should communicate.
Yes.
Communicate what you need, what you desire, what you want, and talk about it, that there's help available.
Absolutely. And I think the only thing that I would say is that if you don't get anything else from this week, that you draw closer to God by way of knowing He means good for you.
Right.
His word says He will withhold no good thing. And intimacy, love, joy, pleasure, all of those things are your birthright. Some things, all the things we learned this week, some things are news you can use right away. Some things have to be stored in the file cabinet for a later moment, but that is already all right. For my single folks, delay is not denial. And for my married folks, that what we learned on Sunday, that's not how the story ends. Yes. What is current doesn't have to be what is going to be. And we can take it to the Lord and be confident that everything, what we want, what we need, what we're working towards is honored by Him, and we can be sex positive Christians because we serve a sex positive God.
And do what works for you
and your house. As for you and your house,
do what works for you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
All right, so we're gonna pray. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for what we have learned. Father, we thank you that you, as Christians, you sent us into different places in the marketplace to have an impact for the kingdom. And so, Father, we thank you for Brittany's commitment to you first, to the calling or the mission that you have given to her life, dear Lord. And I pray for our church and all those who are watching, that if there's any guilt or shame, that it goes away, Father, because we realize who we are in Christ Jesus, and we're set free, and that we would use what you have given the way that you have prescribed. It's in your blessed Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Miss Brittany.
Thank you.
And we will look forward to seeing you again next year. And
yes.
so, y'all be blessed. Have a good one.
Bye.
God bless. Good night.